Yesterday's session, what we have discussed. Any questions you want to bring in? Okay, so let me give a recap what we have discussed in the previous session. So in a previous session, we have discussed about how to enable backup for a Azure virtual machine. We have seen how to create a backup policy, how to initiate the first initial backup manually. That is on enabling the backup part, we have seen it, correct? And immediately we have seen what are the different kinds of restoration methods we do have. That restoration methods, we have seen all four kinds of a restoration. First method is it will allow you to create new VM out of your backup. It means if you're having a backup from last 1 month, this last 1 month of retention, if you want to create new VM from any day, right, you can select the recovery point and create a new VM out of it. That is one option. Second option is you can restore only the disks alone. Let's say your virtual machine is having C drive, D drive, E drive, and F drive. You can restore only the disks alone, right? From the disk, you can attach the different server and collect the data or create a VM out of it manually, right? All these operations also can be done. Third option is you can replace or swap the disks. It means you have a virtual machine which is running today, let's say VM01. It has a VM name, IP address, everything is configured. You want to retain the same settings, right? In such kind of scenarios, what you will do, you typically swap or replace the disk so that your VM configurations will not be get changed, but data will be replaced with the backup from the date which you're going to choose. That is third restore method. Fourth one is you have to restore a file recovery. It means at any time, wherever you want, not only Azure or outside of an Azure or on-premises, you can attach the disk to your local machine. It can be Azure server, it can be a local laptop. In our example, I have shown you that my local laptop, I have added the disk and then I have recovered the file, whichever I want, and then we have disconnected the particular disk as well. So on a high level, this is what we have discussed in the previous session. An entire backup concept we have talked about. Any questions from yesterday's session or anything with respect to backup you would like to discuss? Chiranjeevi, good morning. Do you have any questions from the backup?
Good morning, Surendra. No.
All right. So what we will do today, let's go ahead and talk about disaster recovery. Right? What is mean by disaster recovery? First in place, it is business continuity and disaster recovery. So hope you guys is definitely been aware that every organization, like it's not only for a cloud, right? This BCDRs is been kind of into the picture when the corona came into, right, in the world. This pandemic has teach as this pandemic has made us to have a BCDR mandatory for our organizations. Let's say all of a sudden, if entire organization is down, your entire people is unable to work, how you can continue the business, right? These are all things, it will be not only there for a cloud scenario, it is there for your organization, irrespective of a company type, is a software or a core side or an electronics and electrical, whatever you refer it. Everywhere, the organization will plan this. What they will plan if there is some disaster happens. Tomorrow, we're all working from Bangalore. Assume that. So entire Bangalore is, let's say, it is unable to people are unable to log in. Let's say there is a cyclone, right? And you couldn't able to do any kind of an operations, right? How you can continue to give a service to your customer? So for that, what they will do typically, they will maintain your support teams from multiple geographic locations so that one location got affected, nothing to worry. Other location will people will continue to work, or else they will make you to travel to the different region and start work on it. Have you guys ever came across this kind of scenarios anytime in your experience? Okay, no problem. In Azure, what we are doing, right, as part of our Azure site recovery is that assume that we are creating our servers in West US 2, right? West US 2 is completely down. The region itself is not available for enter like outside world. But we cannot sit quiet that. Okay, West US 2 is not available, so I will not serve you for a business. I am willing to lose my business. That no customer will agree for it. That's where the disaster recovery comes into the picture, that will be providing them the disaster recovery solution using Azure Site Recovery. This is also part of your recovery services vault only. Recovery services vault have two solutions. One is backup, other one is site recovery. Till yesterday, we talked about only for a backup only. From today onwards, today probably and tomorrow, we'll talk about disaster recovery. Right? We'll configure for Azure Virtual Machine disaster recovery. Let's say I will select my primary region is West US, secondary region is somewhere in Korea, so that entire US got affected also no problem. Asia Pacific, I have a Korea location to serve the business. Is it understand at least in a layman terminology what is mean by disaster? What is mean by site recovery? Leave about technology in a general keywords. Is that clear? Venkat, Siva, Chiranjeevi. Yeah. Now, Azure Site Recovery, what are all the workloads it does support for your disaster? It will support for your Azure virtual machines. It will support for your Hyper-V virtual machines. It supports your VMware virtual machines. It does support if any physical servers also. Okay. So all kind of things it does support. So what we will do as part of our training session, we'll show you the entire flow of Azure Virtual Machine Disaster Recovery, how we can configure, right? So for that, what we will typically do, let me explain in MS Paint, and then we'll go ahead and spin up the resources and configure it. So what we will do in this scenario, we will be having one primary region, we will be having one secondary region, and we will be maintain one third region where your recovery services vault will be created. Because we cannot create in a source region because source region is down, if your recovery services vault also will be not available. All right. So recovery services vault you can create in one region, and this is my, let's say this is your West US 2. This will consider as a primary. This can be, let's say, Korea Central. This can be your DR region. Right, this could be your primary region. This is your DR region. So what typically do now, we'll be creating VM01 in this West US2, and with the help of site recovery solution, it does have a configuration done to the both the regions, and it will enable you to synchronize your VM01 to your DR region, that is your Korea South, so that here your VM01 will be highly available, so that if something went bad to your primary region, let's say this entire region of primary is down some reasons, so that will continue our business to the customer from the VM01 from a Korea Central, so that It is not going to impact. There is an impact, but it is not like notable impact that where the customer will lose the entire business. At least 30 minutes, 1 hour, you will bring up the application and services so that they will start using them. Clear? What we are going to do, is it clear, folks? Any questions on it? Let me use this.
Passive, Surendra, the DRC.
No, no, I didn't understand. Could you please repeat?
When you say DR, right, is it like an active sync between primary and DR, or like active passive? Meaning like whenever it goes down, like we'll create a DR environment. How is it?
No, it is an active active.
Active.
Active in the sense the VM will not be up and running here, but data will be synchronized.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like data will be synchronized whenever the situation comes. We'll just switch it to DR and we'll bring up the service.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Your disk, typically what will happen, your VM01 have the disks, right? The disk will synchronize from primary to secondary. Whenever you say that, yes, failover, we'll call it as instead of using a switch, the keyword they will call it as a failover. If you failover from primary to secondary or a DR, what will happen? It immediately create a VM out of the disk with the latest synchronized data. Okay, and there is two important keywords which you guys need to be understand when the disaster comes in. What is that? That is RTO. It means it is recovery time object. What does mean by RTO, guys? It means how much time you will take when a disaster comes in to make up my application in DR region. Let's say assume that it's 8:22 now is the time and there's a disaster happens here, and how much time I am taking to make my application up and running in a DR region. Let's say if I'm taking 30 minutes to do all my configurations, VM to create and configure firewalls, web settings and application database connections and everything. If you are taking 30 minutes, your RTO will be how much? You need to mention that for my disaster, 30 minutes. RPO in the sense recovery point object. Recovery point object. So what is mean by this recovery point object is when a disaster happens, how much data I am losing, right? There is a synchronization happening, right? All the time. It is not possible that when the disaster happens, the same time data will come to the DR region. There is a data loss, correct? Let's say you are copying 100 images to your server. 100 images will start synchronizing to DR region. All of a sudden, right, your virtual machine is down. So it will not complete the activity of synchronizing your all 100 images, right? There will be some portion will be left over. That is where what is the recovery point object? It means if you are saying, boss, last 5 minutes of a data, I cannot get back to DR region. That is your RPO. Our last 10 minutes of a data, I cannot guarantee because I cannot synchronize when the disaster happens. But before 10 minutes, whatever the data is there in the machine, it is available in the DR region, right? This is recovery point object. Let's say 8:24 is disaster happens. Till what time you are able to recover? It means you can commit that I am able to recover the server till 8:15. Whatever the data is there in the server, I am able to recover. So what I could say that when the recovery point object value is 10 minutes. Is this T is this two keywords is clear? Chiranjeevi, Shiva, Harsha, Venkat, able to understand these keywords of RTO and RPO? Any questions on it? When you're referring to disaster recovery, you need to make use of these keywords. Clear? Any questions? Shall I proceed and go ahead and configure?
Yeah.
Okay. So first what we will do, we need to have one recovery services vault in central US and we need one virtual machine right in the primary region, and then we'll enable the synchronization to DR region. So let's go ahead to Azure portal. So I'm going to create one recovery services vault, or else you can type backup and site recovery. Backup and site recovery. Click on create. So the purpose will be the same, guys. There is no difference in it actually. So I'm using AZT27 RG. So here, let's say this is vault hyphen ASR. So I'm using this for Azure site recovery. Location, I just want to use central US, any region. So it should not be the source region. That is the one constraint you need to be consider. And the next option is tags and create a recovery services vault. I just created it. So once start with the deployment, we'll go ahead and create a VM in West US. Okay, deployment is started. I'm going to create one virtual machine. So the resource group is AZT27RG. Mission name is, I'm saying is VM01. Source location will be, I'm going to use West US 2. So that is where I'm having my free services. I'm just using. So rest all details I'm not concerned now. Or else let me change the VNet name alone because it will select create with the resource group name. Let me give a name that it's a VNet 01. Let's all let it be, not a problem. Click on create. So VM is getting created. Meantime, let me go ahead and explain the settings in site recovery. Let the VM get created. So what we have typically done, guys, we created one recovery services vault in a central US. This step is done. I'm creating my primary region VM01 in West US. So this is also is done. Now with the help of this recovery services vault, I am going to enable the synchronization from primary region to DR region. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. So this is my VM deployment. Recovery services vault is already completed. VM also is just completed. Now I am going back to my recovery services vault. This is my vault hyphen ASR. If you could see now, in a previous session, what we discussed, backup we discussed, backup items we discussed, backup policies we have discussed, and backup jobs we have discussed. In this session, what we will do, site recovery, replicated items, site recovery infrastructure, site recovery jobs. It means same solution will function for two different scenarios. Now, let me click on the getting started. Backup we already discussed. I'm going to talk about now site recovery. You click on the site recovery option. So what now you could see here as a site recovery options, you could see that you can do the disaster recovery for your Azure virtual machines as well as for the virtual machines which are running at your Hyper-V and VMware workloads also. Are you able to see this? Three categories. There is a Azure virtual machines, VMware virtual machines and on-premises, Hyper-V virtual machines and on-premises, right? You can typically, it is not like you need to do the disaster recovery configured only for Azure created VMs. No, you can use this recovery services vault for your on-premises workloads. Let's say you are don't have any VMs running in Azure. You are using your own data center with a VMware and Hyper-V as a virtualization platforms, but you don't have a disaster there. You can use Azure Site Recovery Services to have a disaster configured for the workloads. Yeah, guys, what we're trying here. Now, as part of our training, we're going to talk about Azure virtual machines. Let's say, so click on enable replication. Click on enable replication. So source location, where is my source location, guys? My source location is West US2. That is where my virtual machine is running. And this is ARM, Resource Manager deployment only. It is not classic. And subscription is a free trial. So you can choose if when you are having multiple subscription. Resource group is AZT27. For us, why it is not listing resource group from a different region or what? So the resource group also should be in the same region, guys. That might be the problem. So AZ327 belongs to which location? It is in East US2. It is not West US2. That is why it is unable to select the resource group here. So what I will do now, I will delete the VM01. I will delete it. I'm deleting all the resources of the VM. Right, I'm going to create a one more VM. This time I'm going to create a new resource group. Let's say this is dr-rg, or you can name it as AZT27 hyphen mining is the RG, and VM name will be, let's say, VM02. Location I'm gonna use West US2. Able to understand why I'm creating the virtual machine and a resource group once again, guys. So when I'm enabling the replication, right, I need to select the source region as well as resource group. Unfortunately, what I have done, I have a resource group of AZT27-RG in the East US. My VM is West US, so it is not recognizing. That's where what I have done in a West US2 itself, I'm just creating one virtual machine, okay, with the resource group of AZT27 training. So this is also in the same West US2 region. It should reflect in this window here. Clear? Once it is done, we'll refresh the page of disaster recovery setup and then we'll discuss. Your virtual machine is deployment is done. I'm refreshing this page. so that it will consider to load the newly created resource group as well. So the source location is West US 2, and the resource group subscription is a free trial. Real time you can select the subscription. Resource group name is AZT27 training. You have an option to configure the disaster recovery between the zones also. You remember initially starting sessions we have talked about disaster recovery, sorry, zone availability zone concept, ZRS for storage, right? It means in one physical region, you will be having multiple zones, correct? It means multiple data centers in a one or more data center in a one region will called as availability zone. It means if you want to configure disaster recovery within a region between the zones, you could select this option as yes. It means within West US2 itself, you do the disaster between the two different data centers. Our requirement is we don't want to perform within a region, we want to perform a between the regions. In our example, so West US2 is a source region, DR region is Korea. Click on next. Here in this resource group of a source West US2, I'm having only one virtual machine. In your real-time scenario, you can select multiple VMs as well. Click on next. This is where your replication settings will come. Okay. Here you can choose the target location. Are you able to see how many locations you have as the target locations? You can choose all your target location to where you want to maintain a DR region. So always recommended is different continental is recommended so that entire region got affected also. Nothing to worry. Your business will serve from a different DR region. So here it is Korea Central is my DR region. So here by default target subscription. So in our case as a training purpose, you could see that we are having only one subscription of a free trial. But in real time, for a DR, you might be having a different subscription. Source VM can be a different subscription. So in such cases, you can customize it and pick up the subscription from the drop down. Is it clear? Right? In a real-time scenario, you can choose the subscription as well. And a different subscription where you want to maintain the DR region and DR workloads. And one more thing you want to kind of notify here, in a DR region, these are all services is going to be created. Let's say there is a resource group will get created with the name of primary name hyphen ASR. ASR stands for Azure Site Recovery. Similarly, for a virtual network hyphen ASR. And there is one storage account will get created automatically. This is used for caching purpose similarly to your backup. And there is a disk, whatever is there for a primary VM, that disk will be get created in a secondary region. We don't have any availability sets and proximity placement groups. So target availability set, but for us, a source VM, we don't have availability set feature enabled, so this is not applicable. This is proximity placement group in the sense, make a note of this keyword, guys, in interview question. Will it talk about anywhere? Proximity placement group is something like, let's say, you have a group of servers or virtual machines is serving for one business, one application. You are not intended to maintain or allow high latency between them. So that what will happen in the backend if you are creating VM01, VM02, VM03 all in one placement group, one proximity placement group, logically they will group these servers in the backend so that they will make sure that between these three servers the communication will happen very quick, it will be very near to be placed, the latency will be very low. Clear? And then you have something called replication policy. Are you able to see that in our earlier scenario for a backup, we have talked about backup policy. Similarly, here also you will be having a replication policy. Let's say this is policy name I want to maintain AZT27 hyphen ASR Azure Site Recovery hyphen policy. So I can rename it actually. So recovery point object last 1 day I'm mentioning in a day. In that day, I can typically mention like 5 minutes of a 10 minutes of a data synchronization also can be seen post the configuration. But this is what recovery point object they are referred as a 1 day. But once after synchronization, it will from a days, it will come to an hours and to the minutes. Clear? So here you have one more option called multi-VM consistency, similar to your proximity placement group. Here you can group the virtual machine. Let's say there is a VM for application, there is a VM for database. So you are sure that these two VMs should be available to up and running my application in DR region. You can group those virtual machines. Let's say this is the app tier or web tier or my app 01 as my group name. So I will group those virtual machines so that when the replication comes in, these two VMs will be synchronized perfectly. When the disaster happens, you can initiate for the group itself instead of individual VM also. Right? Click on OK. This is all about policy. And when this is your DR region setup, selecting DR region, selecting DR subscription, and what all resources will get created in DR region. These are all things will be there in the last step. And then click on the replication. Now, what will happen if you could see, as soon as this replication you have initiated, what will happen? It will get created one resource group hyphen ASR. It will create one resource virtual network hyphen ASR storage account. Disk will start synchronize. All those things we could see, right? If I go back here, resource groups, you could see that slowly there is a Azure training AZT27 hyphen training hyphen ASR, it will get created. Are you able to see this? There is a resource group created in Korea Central with the AZT27 training hyphen ASR, right? If I get into that, it will also got created my virtual network also, right? So this is the configurations will happen. This is the deployment window. You could see it, right? For enabling the replication. So post it got enabled, it will take some time for replicating your data. Let's say it's a 127 GB of a OS disk. It will take for initially it will take some time for a replication. We'll see that. So I'm just going for a vault-asr, clicking on my what exactly is happening. I want to see it. So you click on site recovery jobs. Here you could see all the operations, whatever is happening. Are able to see here, create a replication policy is done, create a site is in progress. Right, like this, it will try to configure many other operations here for first time to enable the virtual machine replication. Okay, if I go back to my vault here, click on the site recovery or replicated items. Here your VM02 will list down here. When it will get list down, once this enabling replication option is completed. For a first time, it will take a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes, right, to complete the operations. You could see the creating a site, creating the resources, enabling the failover, and all of the, there's so many operations it does create, right? Any questions, guys, how to configure or enable the disaster recovery for the virtual machines? Able to understand, guys? If you could see now, created site is done, production container is creating in a cloud. It requires some bit of a time. Any questions, guys, still here? Okay. So what we will do, we'll allow this job to happen. The configuration should be happen in tomorrow's session. So as we'll be having 24 hours of a time, right? It will synchronize perfectly from primary region West US to DR region. And tomorrow's session will show you, will manually down the primary region virtual machine manually, and will show you how you can up the server in a DR region of Korea South. We'll see that configuration in tomorrow's session. Any questions, guys, so far of disaster? How to configure site recovery for a virtual machine? Because till the replication is done, we cannot see the DR disaster activity. So better will be have those failovers, DR setup configuration discussed in tomorrow's session. If time permits, we'll immediately jump into Active Directory concept. So I know that some of you folks like Active Directory is a keyword is pretty much new, or you guys are hearing for the first time also. I request you to go through very basic things. What is mean by Active Directory? Why it is used? I don't want you guys to learn the technology, but understand what is mean by Active Directory, why it is needed, what is the use cases of it. Yeah, if possible, have get to know that basic things. In tomorrow's session, we'll talk about Azure Active Directory. Clear?
Yes, Satendra, sure.
Yeah. Any questions, guys, before closing today's
Surendra,
session?
on VM01, like the one which you created saying as primary, whatever you do, the activity on, on VM01, it will be replicated to DR. Is it like, now it get to up? You said like it will take 24 hours to get synced up. What does that mean?
No, it is not take 24 hours. It will take probably another 1 or 2. First time, right? Your data has to travel all along the way
Okay.
from West US to Korea. For that,
Okay.
it will take an hour or maximum by 2 hours of a time. Later, it is only changes. No, let's say you are
Okay.
adding something, removing something. Only the changes will be synchronized. For a
Okay.
first time,
The primary can be up now. When the sync is happening, there is no
yes,
action
yes,
taken on.
yes. It automatically takes care of the primary. There is no impact at all. It will be similar to what you are using it now also. Your application doesn't have any impact, doesn't know that you have done the disaster recovery.
Okay. On VM01, can you, I mean, just install a small package like to just see like, tomorrow whether it will be synchronity or so. Can
No,
we do that?
yeah, we can do that.
Just to make sure, like, tomorrow when you are just checking, like, to just see.
Uh, that's not a problem. My resource group, it is AZT27. This is my VM02. Let me go to the MSTS. So we'll do a couple of things, not a problem. So I'm just creating as a DR as a folder. Okay, Chiranjeevi, and I'm just creating some text files. This is test file under which I'm mentioning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and I'm saving this file. Okay, this is one activity we have just done. And to install, I will first disable the security of this because it will not allow me to browse anything. If the security is on yes, I'm turning off the security. I'm going here. So which software you are looking at to install? Shall I, which one
No,
will be?
anything, which one? Just, yeah.
So what I will do now, typically, I will install the putty session, SSH. So by default, your Windows machine doesn't have a putty, right? Download. So 64-bit. I want to run this. So next, you could see now the putty software is installed in the system. If you go ahead and check the putty, are you able to see there's a putty and putty gen we just installed? This is the
Yeah.
application we have done, installation. We have some set of files also has been copied. Tomorrow scenario, when the disaster is happens and we make up the server in a DR region, our expectation is this folder should be there. The installation, whatever we have done should be there. Right? Is that the expectation, Chiranjeevi?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
No.
we just want to compare, right? So if you have something here,
Ah,
it's easy to compare. That's why.
and I totally understand. Not a problem. I will leave the server to be up and running so that it will have all the real-time things will be configured. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
The primary need to be up, like to get the DR to be synced, or maybe primary services can be down.
No, it will happen on a disk level, so it doesn't matter if
If the
you're
services are up
shutting
on.
down now. If you're shutting down now, means what are the data in the disk, it will synchronize.
It will sync. Okay.
Okay, if you are turn on the server and you're doing some modifications, keep on like based on the schedule, the backend, your modifications also will be synchronized and updated in the DR region.
Okay. Clear.
Let's keep the server in online only. That will give us some a bit of an understanding. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? No problem. If there is no further questions, we'll wind up the session for today, and tomorrow we'll see that how we can make up the DR region. If time permits, we'll talk about Azure Active Directory as well. Okay. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining in. See you tomorrow, same time. Thank you. Bye bye.